Yo, what is up, guys? Scope here, and today we are going to do a vlog because it's been a minute since we did a vlog. 1, 2, 3, yeah, it's been a lot of minutes. So, we're going to do this, and the topic of discussion, I haven't decided yet, but we'll decide that right now. That's not a problem. Let's see. We could talk about the normal stuff, like what I've been doing in my life, what new video games I got, and what new shit is, and what these boxes are, and who the fuck cares why my wall is all white. It's irrelevant, it really is, because in the grand scheme of things, will it really matter, is the question. Will it matter in your life, in my life, in anybody's life in the future? After we're dead, will it ever matter why my wall was white? Will it ever matter? I mean, in some minuscule, minute way, like, yes, butterfly effect bullshit, yeah, it will have affected something, but will it matter why? No. Will explaining it to you do anybody any good in the future? Probably not. So let's just forego that, because we're going to take the high road and have a little bit of a better discussion here today. We're not going to talk about the physical things, or shall I say the factual things, as in, hey, I got this game today. That's a fact. Here it is. That's my proof. Oh my god, are you excited for me? No, that's just a lower form of entertainment. It's really it's just kind of bullshit, really. I mean, it's just me fucking doing shit just to do shit. So let's actually talk about stuff that matters. So we're gonna take the good old, as I like to say, whatever the fuck that is, the upward wave of justice, and we're gonna talk about um philosophy. How about philosophy? Things that actually do matter, things that nobody has answered yet, with definite answers. For example, what happens when you die? That's a big one. What happens when you die? That's something I thought about a lot. I took philosophy in college, and it was the best course I've ever taken. It was the funnest course I've ever taken. Of course, I was failing it, so I dropped out, but if I would have stayed through, I'm sure it would have changed my life. But, God forbid you have a bad grade on your fucking little report thing, because that's what matters in life. Not learning things, not knowledge, not bettering yourself, of course. No. So, as I was saying, what happens when you die? So think about this. When you die, what happens to your body physically? Now, that's an easy answer. That we do have the answer to. Your brain ceases to function for whatever reason. You just get too old, it can't keep up with your fucking shit, it can't keep producing your body with, your REM cycle, blah, blah, blah. Or, you get dismembered, your body's cut in half, you can't send functions, you bleed out, no blood to run to your brain, so your brain quits and you die. And it's at that point that your body stops physically living. And at that point, you're either cremated, buried, or just left on the side of the road. It doesn't really matter. Or put in an evidence bag. Depends on how you go. Not really relevant, though. The real question is, what happens to your consciousness, to your brain? Not your brain physically, but like your mind, okay? So when you're sitting there and you're daydreaming, or just dazing off, or basically not talking or not really doing anything physically, you say you're just laying in your bed at night and you're just like, and you're thinking about things and you're picturing things in your head, you've got a whole physical, you can picture things going on in your head, and you're thinking about stuff and you're talking to yourself in your head, this mind chatter is going on. That's your consciousness, how you just realize where you are and everything around you. It's you at your core, right? This is not you, this is not me, this is not me, this is just the physical form I'm currently inhabiting. And the question is, when you die, your consciousness will still be there. What will you be experiencing when you die? Where will you go? What will you see? Will you still be trapped inside your physical body and just see the inside of a coffin for the rest of your life? Or for the rest of forever? No, I highly doubt that. That would be kind of morbid. And frankly, I would not like to talk about that, because that's not nice to think about at all. So, the question is, where do we go? Do we just float around like fucking amoebas, and ghost through the air? No, that's probably not right. One of the most common beliefs is reincarnation. You know, as soon as your body physically dies and your consciousness, your brain stops, you just stop inhibiting this body, you are instantaneously wiped. You're fucking wiped, right? Like your memory is gone. You remember nothing. Boom. You're born again as could be anything. Could be an ant. That would suck. You probably did something really shitty in your past life to deserve that. You could be a dog. You could be a fucking human being again. Any kind of human being. You know, there's so many possibilities. You could be another life form that we haven't even come in contact with that lives in, you know, the galaxy far, far away, you know, or like on another planet. Or you could just elevate to a higher level of consciousness. You could just be a fucking consciousness all on its own that just floats around and doesn't need a physical form. Anything like that could probably happen if you believe in reincarnation. But what do I believe? That's why you're here, right? That's why you're listening to me. That's why you're watching this video, because you want to know what I believe. Well, I don't know anything, of course. I don't know anything. Nobody knows any of this stuff. So it just comes down to opinions, what we believe, what we would like to believe. And what I would like to believe is, yes, reincarnation is a thing. You know, I don't like to believe that we just become one with the earth and, you know, we become a tree or something like that. No, that's bullshit. Because the real thing that like gets me here is, okay, babies are born, humans are born, you know, animals are born every fucking second. Like every second, new things are being brought into this world. And they have minds, they have consciousnesses, they have souls, like things that compel them. They're not just physical bodies walking around all mindlessly, you know, like they have a wherewithal there. So something obviously, you know, a consciousness inhibits them. And where does that come from? Does it just pop out of thin air? Are like minds and souls just coming up out of nowhere, you know, with all these traits and whatever just popping up out of nowhere? I don't think so. That's a little crazy. I don't think they just pop up out of nowhere and then when people die, they're just gone. That doesn't, like, energy just doesn't work that way. Energy is transferred. Energy does not just die, you know? Like, it gets dispersed, it dissipates, it, you know, goes somewhere else, but it doesn't just die. So like an energy as strong as your mind does not just go away. And for the same reason, it doesn't just appear out of nowhere. You can't just make that. There's got to be something behind it. So what I'm thinking is, you know, all these consciousnesses that are dying off every day, getting killed, you know, you step on 100 ants, boom, that's 100 minds, 100 souls just dead instantly. Where did they go? Well, there's 100 new things that were born that exact second that you stepped on those 100 ants. And whether it was an animal or, you know, a human or something far, far away, like we said, we don't even know what's out there. So instantly, when those things were born, those were I'm not saying the exact consciousnesses were transferred from those ants to these things that were born this second. That's not how it works. It's not just, I don't think it's just like oh, hey, you happened to die at this time, and this happened to be born the next second, so you're automatically transferred to that. No, I do believe that how you live your past lives and what level of knowledge and, you know, like, knowledge and enlightenment, there's the word, enlightenment you attain, that directly affects what you will physically inhibit next. And I think once you've obtained, you know, and us living lives as humans, I think is pretty high on the food chain. Humans are pretty lucky because as far as we think, there's nothing out there that can top us. You know, of course there is. There are things that are physically dominant to us, and there are things that could probably wipe us out just like we can wipe out ants on the ground, you know, just like that. We probably don't know about it yet, you know, some of us, but it's there. But the thing is, we don't know that. So obviously we're pretty high up there. Humans have a level of thought and, you know, a level of just skill to think critically and be able to ask questions and talk about things like I'm talking to you right now about, to be able to question their own existence. And that's pretty crazy. So obviously us living lives and inhibiting these bodies as humans for, you know, the short 80, 90 years we get to spend on this earth is really, really, really crazy. It's really crazy that we get to experience this. We get to experience life as a human because it's a pretty privileged life. And the time you spend doing that is very important because it's short. And when you die, you don't know what happens. You might not get to live a human life again. Like, what if you lived a shitty life? And what if I'm right that if you live a shitty life, you don't obtain anything, you just live it basically with no, you just don't do anything. You basically wasted your life. You wasted your trip through the human life. Then you're probably going to get sent down on the food chain a little bit. You're going to be reborn as like maybe a shark. Sharks are pretty cool, but they're not humans. Maybe a squirrel, something stupid, like just, and then you got to work your way back up. Like, imagine life as a squirrel cannot be that fulfilling, really. I mean, you can't think that critically. You pretty much can only do a few basic things. It's really boring, and inhibiting that physicalness of a squirrel, that would just suck. I mean, we can't argue about that. That would suck. But I believe if like, try to at least think about these things that I'm talking about right now, like why we're here and what we are capable of, and like what is like why is everything here? Like what are we experiencing and things like this? I think, a lot of people have thought this, but you will come to realize that we are capable of a lot more than we think. Like, let me just give you an example. Let me shoot you an example. Say this quarter here. This quarter. I can physically touch this quarter. It's a gold quarter, by the way. I don't know why it's gold. I can touch it and it feels real. It stimulates all my senses, my touch, my taste. I hope that was clean. My smell, all that. I can see it. Okay, so it's real to us. But the question is it really real in the realest sense of the word? Or is this just code? Think the Matrix, okay? When Neo unlocked his ability or whatever to see things for what they really were when he was fighting Agent Smith at the beginning of the first movie, and then instantly he saw and he realized everything around, all the walls, Agent Smith, everything, because he was in the Matrix, was just code. Zeros and ones. They were just things that were programmed that way. And he was just decoding them with his eyes to be a certain thing. The pain he felt, was not real. And like the walls, they're not real. So this quarter, imagine it's just code. Of course, that just seems crazy to us because our minds aren't there yet. Human beings haven't evolved to that level yet where we can realize that that's all it is. That this quarter is not a quarter. These walls are not walls. If we were at that level of understanding that we realized these walls weren't really walls, we were just seeing them as walls, and what our definition of walls are, we could reach right through them. Right fucking through them. Because once we understand what they really are, we understand that we can manipulate it and we aren't bound by it. So, when people have these crazy stories about alien encounters and they say, oh man, it was crazy. They just morphed through my bedroom wall and came and abducted me. And, and then they wiped my memory. And then the most common thing is they say, they didn't speak to each other. They just communicated telepathically to each other. But I could hear what they were saying and they were speaking to me in my mind and I could hear it. And somehow I could talk back. These people aren't crazy. Like, a lot of these things really happen, probably. Like, it's way too common to just be dismissed. And the thing about these people they experienced or were abducted by is they have achieved that heightened level of awareness, of consciousness of themselves. And I'm not saying we could ever, be like that, but we could probably get there because all these things that are out there, all these beings, that exist, which we don't have proof of yet and all that, you can argue all that, great. But this is just, this is just talk. They have gotten to that level of awareness where they realize that you don't need to waste, breath and do all this stuff to talk. Our minds are the most powerful things we have. And just the ability to think like this should show you that the ability that we can think this deeply. Obviously, our minds are capable of much more than we even know. So could we talk to each other in our brains if we both, if people were both that enlightened and that, conscious and not bound by, the physical law. Could they do it? Yes, I think they could. Could we walk through fucking walls if we were at that level? Yes, I think we could. Will it ever happen? I don't know. It's a stretch, but I think it's possible, and this, it's just code. Like, we aren't bound by this. Like, if I was at that level, I could just fucking bend this, or I could just make it disappear, like, it's not, it's just, it's crazy when you think about it, and you just think about how limited we are. Like, a lot of people think about how unlimited we are, but think about how limited we are and how unlimited we could be. It's just crazy. And that's the shit I think about. So I got off track there. We were talking about people dying and consciousnesses and stuff, and what happens when you die. But yeah, like, I think if you reach that level, a pretty good level, as long as you keep moving forward in those steps about what we are and what we're capable of, I think you can, you have the possibility to be reincarnated as a human again. And, it's not like, yeah, your memory gets wiped and you don't remember anything in your past life. Yeah, of course that's true, because that would be fuck shit up, if you could remember everything. But you know how, deja vu. We all know deja vu. You're like, man, I felt like I've been in this situation before. And sometimes you actually have been in it. You just don't remember, or you've been in a similar situation or whatever. And a lot of people think, oh, it's a premonition of something I'm going to experience in the future. None of that's true. What deja vu is you're experiencing a situation that is either extremely similar or exactly alike a situation you have experienced in a past life. What you lived in that past life, who you were, what you did, who fucking knows? But you experience something like that, and that's the reason you remember. You're like, man, I'm deja vu, but you can't quite put your finger on it. And you never, if it's legitimate deja vu, you never will figure out why it felt so similar, because you will never remember what happened in your past life. But bits of it are there. Some things you take with you. Like, for example, a lot of the knowledge you take with you, not directly. It's not like you come out as a new baby and you're like, oh, E equals MC squared because I fucking learned that when I was Einstein. That's not how it works. It's like you just have an edge up on the situation. For example, those babies that come out and then they grow up and they're super fucking smart, and they graduate college at 14 and stuff. Those were people, those are the geniuses of our era who learned so much in their lives, and when their time came, maybe they were fucking reborn as another human being. They got another chance, and then, in that life, they were so smart and had so much knowledge from their past life that they learned even more. And then maybe once they died as that person, then they probably moved on to a higher level. They were no longer reincarnated as a human, but they were reborn as a higher level of existence. For example, just a being, just like not even a physical thing, something that just, is there, but at the same time is not there. Kind of similar to what a lot of people would say God is, Whether God is real or not, that's, a whole separate discussion. But, like an omniscient being where you can be there and you're not there. You can choose to occupy something or you can choose not to, because you're that heightened in your level and understanding of your existence and what you're capable of and how crazy the mind is and what it's capable of. It's like that movie Limitless, but on a much larger scale. Like, we only use 10% of our brains, and yeah, that's kind of true, but it's like we only use God knows how much percent of our minds, like probably one, like we could just do so much more. But anyway, yeah, but I think, like, what can you do in this life to really take steps towards that? If you were like serious about it and you really wanted to pursue that, well, I think you could, like, one of the things in philosophy class that we learned about that was really interesting was Buddhism, which, everybody's heard of, but nobody knows a whole lot about. And one of the practices that they do is meditating, obviously, but it's a form of meditation where they will sit in a room and meditate, and they will stare at a lit candle, and their only goal is to experience nothing but the candle and the flame. And what I mean by that is they try to eliminate mind chatter, because they feel that mind chatter blocks your capabilities of the mind and your sense of awareness and your ability to experience the world for all it's worth, and it dims your senses, which I believe is very true. And what I mean by that is mind chatter. Like, think about when you're driving somewhere, right? You're driving by yourself no radio on, just hypothetical, right? No radio on, you're driving to work or something, nobody in the car with you, and it's just quiet. You're not talking, you're just by yourself. What are you doing? Like, okay, you're sitting there, but like, what's going on in your head? You're just thinking, right? And you're talking to yourself in your head. You're saying words in your head. You're not saying words physically, you're saying them in your head. You're like, oh wow, this stoplight's red, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that person's doing. Oh my God, they're picking their nose, and da da da. And like everything you see or everything you hear, you start talking about or thinking about for just maybe even a quick second, because the mind works at extreme speeds. And I couldn't even speak it now to be able to keep up with it, how quickly your mind chatters like that. But it just constantly chatters about little nonsense things that have no meaning and no matter. And the reason Buddhists do that type of meditating, which takes years and years and years, and some people never attain that level, even after 60 years of meditating and practice, because it's a really hard thing to try and stop. But they try to get rid of that mind chatter. Now imagine that same drive, but imagine if there was no chatter in your head. You didn't see things and instantly think about them. You just didn't think about them. Just imagine it. All your senses are wide open. You see things, but you're not talking about them in your head. You just see them, and you truly see them. Everything, you can hear it. You can hear everything around you because there's nothing going on in your head to distract you. You can just hear everything. And you can feel everything. All your senses are heightened because there's nothing weighing you down in your mind. You're just absorbing everything. The world would be a whole new place to you. It'd be so much more than it is now. And that is really crazy. And I admire them for that, because that is something that would just be crazy. And if you could obtain that, in a lifetime and get to that level, it would just be like, you'd be you would be on a whole new level of awareness. You would be basically not even human anymore. It's like you're like a superhuman. It's just, I don't know, it's crazy. And I don't know, that would be cool. I mean, I don't know, like, and the people who will straight up, just like decide to dedicate their lives to that and go full through with it, those are the people that, are gonna get there. And but baby steps, concrete baby steps. And the baby steps, like, I'm not obviously ready to dedicate my life to becoming a Buddhist monk and, meditating all day and all night and giving up everything, giving up all my, you know, everything but my basic survival needs to obtain that level of intelligence and awareness. To me, it's just, something I like to think about. It's a hobby, but I'm still just living the normal human life, and I'm okay with that. I enjoy it. I enjoy the, you know, things that we don't need but we like. And but we, like I said, baby steps, just me sitting here talking about this to you, thinking about it, spreading the word is enough to, it's a step in the right direction. So, yeah, just think about it, just something to wrap your head around for the day. I don't know. So yeah, that was our philosophical discussion of the day. That was today's vlog, and it was 23 minutes long, so we should probably cut it there. Um, yeah, I had some other stuff I probably could have talked about, like actual physical things, but why screw up the whole aura of this video? Why do that? I'm not one to do that. So let's call it a video. Peace out, yo. Think free, motherfucker.